Hello and welcome. We are live, so if you're watching, feel free to ask questions or comments and participate today. I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about Disney and music, Skylight Music Theater. Got some special friends here that we're going to be talking to. But as I was thinking about Disney and music, I can't not talk about The Wizard of Oz, right? So Disney has made two Oz films. In 1985, they did Return to Oz. In 2013, Oz the Great and Powerful. The first was a sequel, the second was a prequel, neither of them musical. I remember on the red carpet at the premiere of Oz the Great and Powerful, I met the guy who did the score, Danny Elfman, and I was asking him about the score, and I'm like, God, the pressure of creating songs for the legacy of Oz in a Disney film, such iconic music, both genres unto themselves, right? And I was like, do you have an iconic moment? Is the score going to have a theme that we're going to remember for the rest of our lives? That Star Wars. And he was like, I didn't really. And I was like, gosh, he wasn't that enthused about it. And sadly, the film kind of shows. I always thought the Wizard's theme and Oz the Great and Powerful sort of sounds like Oh Canada. Tell me if you agree, if anybody is in the mood to rewatch that film. Anyway, the point that I'm coming around to is I got over the fact that those Oz films as Disney movies don't have music in them, but the Disney musical song catalog is among the most recognized and favorite in movie and Broadway history. And all of those great hit songs are now coming together in A Jolly Holiday, which is currently playing at Skylight Music Theater through December 31st. And it debuted last year at New Jersey's famed Paper Mill Playhouse, and it's only the second time ever that this has ever been produced here at Skylight. And we've got the show's writer and the director here with us today. Sandy Rustin is an actress and award-winning playwright recently named by American Theater Magazine as one of the most produced playwrights of the season. Her stage adaptation of the film Clue is one of the most produced plays in the US. Her stage adaptation of the movie Mystic Pizza premiered in the summer of 2021, and also just last year she worked with Disney Theatrical Group to create A Jolly Holiday, which is now of course at Skylight. Now that's because Michael Unger, her friend, had it all come together. We're going to figure out the story behind it, only the second time. And A Jolly Holiday is really such a complete, beautiful holiday musical for all ages, celebrating friendship and the glee of the season with bona fide Disney magic. Skylight's artistic director, Michael Unger here. Michael joined Skylight in 2019, and in the past few years, he's taken the company to the next level and the next level. He wowed audiences directing Dennis DeYoung's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Little Shop of Horrors, and the virtual production of Being Earnest, which is still available to stream. And previously, he was the producing artistic director of New Arts in Newtown, Connecticut. He's also directed benefit concerts with a lot of famous celebrities, including the Wiz himself, Andre de Shields. We will have to talk about that, Mr. Michael Unger. And he is married to Broadway star Janet Metz. Talk about that too. I bumped into them at the opening night of A Jolly Holiday, and I'd like to share a look of the show. Here's a clip. What a wonderful day. Food on the fire. All right, welcome Sandy and Michael. It's great to see you both. How are you doing?
Hi, Ryan.
We're good. Great. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. First of all, how did you guys meet? Michael.
Well, you want to take that one, Sandy?
Sure. So in 2000, I was cast in I Love You, Perfect Now Change off Broadway at the West Side Theater. as woman number 1, and woman number 2 was Janet Metz. So we shared a dressing room, and we did that show together for over 3 years and became really close friends. And so naturally, I met Michael at that time, and we became friends too. And then over the years, I got to work with Michael in all different ways. Michael directed me as Babe in Crimes of the Heart when I was an actor at Theater Aspen. And now he's directing my work as a playwright at the Skylight Music Theater. So yeah, that's how we know each other.
That's amazing. I mean,
It all goes back to Janet.
Yeah.
It all goes back to Janet.
As most things in my life do.
Janet's wonderful. And Sandy, I just am curious, before we really delve into Jolly Holiday and the process with that, were you an actress before you were a playwright? And if so, when did you know you wanted to start writing?
Sure. So I always had a dual focus when I was studying, all through high school. Even I was in, but also was the head writer of our student written musical in high school. Same thing. I went to Northwestern and would perform and stuff, but was also on the writing team of the student written musical there called WAMU. So I always had this dual focus. When I moved to New York after college, I was cast as Sandy in the national tour of Greece. So I did that for a year and then was sort of steadily and happily working as an actor. So writing really took a backseat. And it wasn't until I became a parent in 2005 that I suddenly thought, I don't know if 8 shows a week is the schedule for me while I have little kids. And so I reinvested my time and energy into writing and sort of began that branch of my career. But I still do perform. I work a lot as a voiceover performer. And I imagine one day when my kids are out of the house that I'll go back to it a little bit more. So yeah, I've always had a dual interest and dual focus.
Excellent. Well, Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey, very, very impressive. And you debuted A Jolly Holiday last year there, last holiday season, and with actual Broadway stars, some of whom originated the roles that they were performing, right? And
Right.
It was very fun. And Michael was very smart to realize the brilliance in that show and had the idea. Did he reach out to you and say, hey, how can we make this happen? Or Michael, did you reach out to Disney Theatrical Group first?
Well, Sandy and I were talking about a bunch of things because she is of the most prolific writers around today, perhaps. She's so busy, got so many great projects in the fires and in the air. And we came to this, and I'm not even sure, Sandy, if, I asked you about it or you told me about it, you probably told me about it. And then I thought, this could be really interesting. And it came to be that Disney was looking to create a version of the show that did not rely on the performers actually having been on Broadway and Disney shows. Because at Paper Mill, there were 5 performers who had all appeared in Disney shows on Broadway. And they were creating a version that was a little more generic, not in a pejorative sense, but that could be done by non-Broadway performers. And that's the version that we're sort of premiering that version. They're not massive changes, but Sandy reworked the script so that it could be played by people that had not been on Broadway before. And then I asked Disney if I could add a couple of elements to it to make it a little more unique for Skylight and just sort of give it a warmer, more family atmosphere. And so we have some elements in this version that have not been seen before in the show.
Like the kids, that was your idea, right?
Like the kids, it was. So one of the first things I wanted to do, because Skylight normally does a show in the holiday slot that has lots of kids in it, because I spent most of my career directing shows that have lots of kids in them. I just love working with young people, and it's just such a fun experience to, first of all, have kids falling in love with theater from on stage perspective, but also to see families and kids seeing kids on stage. So there's nothing wrong ever, I think, with kids on stage in the right shows. So I asked Disney and Sandy if what they thought of the idea of me adding young performers to this show, and they loved it. So we did. So we have a cast of 12 young performers. They're divided into 2 different groups of 6, and they alternate performances, the Jolly cast and the Holiday cast. And it's a great group of kids who are loving Disney and loving singing and loving participating, and they've got some choreography. It's a lot of work, and they're doing all their schoolwork at the same time, but they love it, and we love having them.
They are fantastic. I can't imagine the show without it. I didn't get to see it last year at Paper Mill, but I love the kids in it. And there's so much love in the show because the energy is so good, but especially the songs. I mean, when you think about Disney and musicals and what these songs were, I mean, they're some of the best movie musicals. I actually credit Disney for bringing the movie musical back to a popular genre. because the movie musicals were popular in the golden era of Hollywood, and then audiences got so curmudgeonly and were like, we don't buy it when people just break out into song. What's that? And like, much to my chagrin, but we went several years with it, a bunch of musicals that didn't make bank. And then Disney really started, I think with Little Mermaid and the resurgence, and those shows, those movies are so strong that brilliantly they adapted them to the Broadway stage. And then you were able, Sandy, to cull from all of these. I mean, how many different shows, how many songs are in A Jolly Holiday?
I think it's 14 different shows and 33 songs.
Wow.
Yep.
And every song a hit. I mean, it's like you've got Mary Poppins and The Lion King, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, it's just everything everyone loves. And interestingly, there's not actually a proper Disney musical that is a holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, or anything. We really don't have proper holiday songs. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the biggest challenge. And I think that had remained, Disney for a long time, Disney's been wanting to find a way to create a holiday show that celebrates, the Disney spirit at the holiday season. But it was a tough nut to crack because in looking through their canon of Broadway shows, they don't have a show that is a holiday show that even has a holiday song. Like even Jolly Holiday, which is a song in Mary Poppins, isn't really about the holidays. It's about like a vacation, like taking a day off. So that was the challenge, was figuring out, all right, how do we do both these things? How do we create a show that really feels like a celebration of the holidays, that simultaneously celebrates the incredible canon of Disney music? So that was the challenge that was in front of us when we set out to do it.
I like it so much more than I've seen, the typical jukebox musical. This is more like a review. It doesn't feel like it, though. The story you've come up with about friends gathering together for a holiday party that's all inclusive, and they're trimming the tree and they're having cookies, but they're celebrating these songs. And sometimes you get together in the holidays and you're not listening to holiday music. You might just want great music on. And there's no more universally loved music than these Disney classics, right, Michael? So how did you adjust this show specifically as you were working with Sandy and Disney Theatrical Group? Can you talk about the process, going back, getting things approved that way, what you wanted to add?
Sure. Yeah. So every change that I wanted to make, and they weren't drastic, had to go through Disney, of course. And the wonderful head of licensing at Disney was sort of my main contact person, who I knew from other experiences. My work in Newtown connected me with him on the rights, acquiring the rights to certain properties. Wonderful guy, David Scott. And so the first thing was, can we have kids? And once they said yes, that sort of cracked open a whole world of excitement. And the other thing I wanted to add was gift giving. So in the Paper Mill production, a fun fact, by the way, is one of the actors in the Paper Mill production was Dan DeLuca, who played the lead in Full Monty for us right before he did that show at Paper Mill last year.
Oh, cool, right. He's great.
Yeah. Anyway, he's great. And Joey Shalius is playing his track and is very excited because they became good friends during Full Monty. Anyway, that was sort of a fun legacy passing. But after the kids were approved, I wanted to do a gift giving thing just to make. The idea was, we're all gathering in a house, doesn't matter whose house. We are family and friends. We're not defining who's family, who's a friend, what the relationships are. It's just an excuse to gather together at the holidays, whatever holiday you do celebrate or don't celebrate. We have a Christmas tree, we have a menorah, we have a kinara, so we're trying to represent as much as we can. And it's really just about getting together and celebrating the magic of family, because my memories as a kid of Hanukkah celebrations was always singing Hanukkah songs around the table and dancing around the house. And, it's just, you do that. You get together with family, and there's often music at those parties. So this is sort of that kind of party on steroids with phenomenal singers and a bunch of great kids who are also great singers. So that's sort of how it came to what it is at Skylight.
That's really, really cool. And speaking of the phenomenal singers, you have collected some of the best local and regional talent here. I want to talk about them one at a time, these adult singers, but first let's take a look at another clip of them performing. I'm applauding again. It's so fun. Like, it's the kind of show where it's like the first act is so great, and then you've got a little intermission, and the second act, it's like it just kind of, it's like whiplash, and the show ends, and you're like, you feel like you were there for 10 minutes. You know, you want to see it again. We just got a comment from an audience member who was there last week. It looks like she says, "Go the Distance blew me away when I saw it last week." Catherine, thank you. It's so many blow me away moments, right? I'm thinking of Kevin James Siebert, who redefines Showstopper. The night that I was there, literally, there was an extended, I mean, there was great applause after every number, but there was one number he did out there from Hunchback, and you noticed it was a much longer, it stopped the show. He's so fantastic. Here he is in a great moment, revealing some Disney magic with one of the young cast members. Michael, why do you love Kevin?
Oh my God, what's not to love about Kevin? You know, I've been here for 3 years, a little over 3 years. Half of that was during a pandemic. And, you know, I see every show I can in town in Milwaukee. I've seen everything I can get to see just to find the talent. And Kevin just always stood out from day one as very, very, very special. I guess I first saw him in Newsies, didn't have a huge part in that, but he is such an authentic performer. His voice is so effortless and pure and clear, and like literally no break from, you know, low register to high register. He's got opera training, but can sing pop and is such a genuine, kind human. It comes through in everything he does. And I cast him as Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors, and he's not, I don't know, he's not, I guess, typically cast that way, but Kevin just did a spectacular job of creating this very empathic, very honest human who you fall in love with, even though he's going down some dark paths in that show, but he's always endearing and charming. And I love him. He's one of my favorite Milwaukee folks. In fact, everyone in the show are favorite Milwaukee folks. There are more of them, of course, but I was able to pick, some of the best Skylight folks and some of the best Milwaukee folks.
Right. Before we continue with the cast, we just got a comment here from Christy, who says that she's so proud that Skylight is featuring a talented female playwright in Sandy Rustin. Her husband just played the butler in Clue in Racine, Wisconsin, as is noted, because Clue is literally one of the most produced shows in the country right now. We're going to talk more about Clue in just a little bit. Christy, thank you for your comment. But back to the cast, let's talk about Sean Holmes. I've been a fan of Sean's. We've seen him on stage a lot, and he always brings something fresh and new. And his energy, I mean, it's like his stamina and energy in this show, as we just saw in some of the clips, is phenomenal. Sandy, what did you think when you saw Sean bring some of these songs to life?
I thought it was the whole cast. I mean, Sean, of course, everybody. I didn't know any of these actors before seeing this production. I was really going in blind. And of course, I trust Michael, and Michael had told me how wonderful everybody was, but it was thrilling to walk into the theater and, first of all, to see the Skylight Theater. I'd never even been there. It's beautiful. And meet everybody was so welcoming. And then to have this Broadway level cast in the middle of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was amazing. And I'm from Chicago, so I'm familiar with Milwaukee, but I had not, I just didn't know. I didn't know what to expect, and it was a total delight to see this incredible group of actors. So
it really is. I love Samantha Sostarch, and she's so great in this. I feel like this show is a really great showcase because she gets to show so many different sides of her personality. Michael, what surprised you about seeing Sam in this show?
Well, first, I'm going to go back to Sean for just a second. You have to know about Sean. He's a powerhouse, phenomenal voice, great personality. He's just got such energy on stage. He's also an ER nurse. So he spends all night in the ER, maybe sleeps from 7 in the morning to maybe noon or something, and comes in for a full day of rehearsal. He is remarkable, as is Samantha. So she's, I think I first saw her here in Spelling Bee, and she was hilarious. She's funny, she's charming, a beautiful voice, and she's also a bit of a Disney fanatic, honestly. I think she goes down there every year or something, but she is just a wonderful spirit in the room, and you could not have a nicer group of people. And it's like, you want to spend the holidays with these people because they're so nice and talented.
Absolutely. Speaking of nice and talented, Joey Chalias, it's great because he's so talented. I love his voice. He does Proud of Your Boy. He does, was that Santa Fe, two of my favorite Disney songs that are just bring tears to your eyes. But you also let him play with the guitar. And he's been training and playing guitar for a long time. He studied with a friend of mine, Keith Pulvermacher, who is very talented. And did Joey ask to play the guitar? Was it your idea, Michael?
Well, it was my idea because I knew Joey played guitar. So Joey grew up dreaming of being on the Skylight stage. And he was I first worked with him in the Being Earnest virtual show that we did. So obviously not live on stage, but he was a clear talent. Hadn't met him. I worked with him for maybe a month and a half and had never met him because it was all on Zoom or virtual or StreamYard like this. But he was in Full Monty, and he is so grateful for every minute he spends on stage, and especially at Skylight. He's a very genuine person, super sweet, super talented. But in the Paper Mill production, they did not have a guitarist. They had the guitar in sort of the synthesizer track. It was sort of through electronic means. And I said, hey, we got a guy who plays guitar. Let's actually have him play guitar and perform in the show. So we were able to get the arrangements from Jim Abbott, who does a lot of Disney arranging, is a brilliant music director, brilliant arranger, orchestrator. And I knew Jim again from other avenues. And he sort of gave us some charts specifically for Joey to play, and we worked that in. So it was a great gift. Obviously, if Joey didn't play guitar so well, we couldn't do that, but I knew he did, and it was a perfect match.
Yeah, it's a highlight to get to see him enjoy that aspect of his talent as well. And then Darren Alexis, who I got to meet at the Skylight Night Gala, which was so much fun. And she is a gem. I mean, we all love these Disney songs because we can all remember the first time we saw the movies or when we saw them on Broadway or in touring shows. And the songs mean so much to us on their own. But I feel like this cast really was able to bring their own personalities to that. And Darren really is another star. I just loved her. Here she is. And Michael, what was the experience like working with her?
Another delightful person, could not be kinder, could not be more hardworking. So she's from Chicago, where Sandy and I are both from. And I had seen her in Dreamgirls, which our music director, Christy Charles-Twilley, had music directed at the Paramount Theater in Aurora, Illinois. And I didn't meet her afterwards, but I just, I'd seen her in the show, and we found out about her through an agent, through Christy, and she auditioned and was just a perfect fit. She was just great, and she has good dance experience. So, because we do have some complicated choreography in the show, and she met that beautifully. Hope it's okay to say, Darren was not as familiar with some of these Disney songs as a lot of the rest of us are. So yeah, it was interesting because some of the first, when she was approaching some of the songs for the first time, like even Part of Your World, she was not as familiar. Like, I could probably sing that song right here. I won't, but I probably could, just because it's so ingrained in me. And it was sort of just to see Darren approach that with a little fresher perspective was really special. And she makes it her own, like you said, all of her songs. I mean, she's just a beautiful talent and couldn't be nicer. And she's fit into the Skylight group really, really well. Like, everyone's in love with Darren instantly.
Yeah. So, I mean, such a great cast, and the kids too, the energy. I mean, I couldn't decide like which moment I liked best. There's so many standout moments. That's the one thing where I was like, I usually do like a review or a live interview like this to promote. I don't often do them both together, but I loved this show so much, Mike. I think I pulled you aside afterward. I was like, we've got to talk. I'm doing a review, but we've got to talk also. I just wanted to talk about this show and then get the chance to talk to you guys too. I mean, so how does it feel? I mean, I guess I've had a recent experience where I got to actually participate in putting a show together. And
I saw you in that show, Ryan. And let's review Ryan J for a minute. One of the best advocates for the arts in Milwaukee you could ever find.
Well, okay, thank you.
Moving on.
You actually, one of the greatest compliments anyone ever gave me was when you called me the Milwaukee version of Seth Rudetsky.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, sure. I will take that. I love him. Thank you very much, because I'd always thought of the Skylight's amazingly talented and hardworking Susan Varela as Milwaukee's Nicole Kidman. So there we go.
Sure,
we've got a lot of our own versions of celebrities here.
We've got some Carol Burnett's here also, but Seth Rudetsky, first of all, the mayor of Broadway, he knows everybody, he knows everything. He is super smart, super just delightful, but he's also a very positive force all the time in all of his, online stuff that he had going through the pandemic, raised tons of money, but such a positive force for everything he touches and everything he talks about. And I feel the same about you, Ryan. I really do.
Thank you. But before we talk more about me, no,
yeah, sure.
I was just trying to make the point that I feel like I recently learned some new insight into showbiz and show making as an adult with that experience that I had. And I had that much more appreciation for all the little things that I saw went into this show. Michael, there's so many great, and I also want to ask Sandy your reaction in comparison to Paper Mills, but like the set was phenomenal. I mean, the vectors, and it almost seemed 3D, and you made a space that's beautiful. The Cabot Theater is exquisite, but the set was an extension of that, and it almost felt 3D. I mean, it is, it's not a screen, but it felt like we're all just in this room together, even though we're in the audience. And the lighting punctuated the choreography and the music, and it was all so musical. And it takes it. I've got to think of a new phrase, Michael, to compliment you, because I keep saying next level, because I just feel like whatever next level is, you find ways to go better than. Maybe it's just breaking barriers, smashing expectations even when they're high, or the rest of it. But you're very adept at thinking big and blowing us all away. And so your work is always worthy of seeing and enjoying, and hella entertaining. So there's that compliment. But
that's it. Hella entertaining. I'm going to put that on my website. Would you like to be my agent, Ryan? Hella entertaining. Michael Unger. Hella entertaining. Well,
absolutely.
You know something? It takes a village. It ain't a solo show. I have so many great collaborators on the show, and the set design is quite beautiful. And the production department did a beautiful job building it. And I said to the set designer, Ken, I said, I'd love to have an environment like a ski chalet in Aspen, let's say. And Sandy Rustin has actually been to a house in Aspen that kind of resembles this set a little bit. And Ken delivered exactly what I was looking for, because the idea is that you're walking into Skylight's living room. It's warm, it's open. We break the fourth wall from the first line, so the audience is literally on stage with us. And that was, he achieved a beautiful production with that. And also our lighting designer, Jamie Roderick, who's on a couple of shows here, Spelling Bee and Hunchback, really made that space just shine and glow and all the different colors, and gave atmosphere to every single song. And there are like 33, so there are 33 different looks at least, so it's a really good production team, a great design team. And I'm fortunate to work with great artists, because none of this could be possible without that group of people in this room at that time.
And then Sandy, did you come and see it like when I was there? Was that your first time seeing it too at the opening, or were you privy? Was Michael sharing things with you? And what did you think of this version?
My first time seeing it was your first time seeing it at Skylight, and it was thrilling to walk in and just see such a beautiful, warm, engaging environment on stage. I thought it was perfect. And I was so happy I got to meet the lighting designer, and I got to meet the costume designer as well. So I was able to say bravo, but it was beautiful.
Yes, also talented. I mean, it's amazing. It's Jolly Holiday. It is playing now at Skylight Music Theater through December 31st. Tickets are available at skylightmusictheater.org. Before we go, though, Sandy, is it okay if we chat just a second about Clue? I've got a clip. Do you mind if I show it first?
Sure.
All right, let's do that quick. Clue. I mean, this movie, the game. I just played the game recently.
Candlestick? What's this for?
A wrench. A lead pipe.
A dagger?
A revolver.
Oh, a snake! Oh, no. It's a rope.
Dinner will be served at 7:30.
Sharp.
Ah, right on time. Are you kidding me? What is this? Is there someone else in this house, yes or no?
No.
No, there is, or no, there isn't.
Yes.
There seems to be some confusion about whether or not we are the only people in this house.
There isn't.
There isn't any confusion, or there isn't anybody else.
Either both.
Just give me a clear answer.
What was the question?
Is there anyone else in this house?
No!
That's what he says. But does he know?
No, officer. I don't think you should go in there.
Why not?
Because it's all too shocking.
Yes, it's true. I knew Yvette. She had a torrid love affair with my late husband. I hated her. I hated her so much. It just the flames on the side of my face, just breathing, heaving breath.
Well done.
Yay!
That's
That was
so
fun.
cool.
Those were fun clips to revisit.
Very, very fun. So anybody watching that has friends out near Paper Mill, definitely encourage them to see that. That looks amazing. Any chance of that turning into a musical sometime? Maybe this is an idea for Skylight.
Well, it's funny. The play. So this play ran. It was last year. So it's not currently running. But we are.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Sorry about
launch,
that.
I think there will be a tour of it that will launch sometime in the future. So you can keep your eyes open.
Okay. Thank you for that correction.
Yeah, sure. And we do have original music to it. So it is a play, but Michael Holland, who's a terrific composer, has composed original music that accompanies the play. So much of the play is underscored. The music you were hearing in those clips is music in the show. So even though it's a play, it does sort of have a vibe as the musical.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been such a treat to get to work on that show. And I'm so delighted at the response around the country. It's playing all over the place, which is so exciting.
That is very exciting. And Michael, there's a play, a fun comedy you have coming up at Skylight in the new year, right?
There is. You must be referring to Noises Off.
Yes.
So Noises Off, I think, is the funniest play in the world. I had the idea, and this is not entirely unrelated to conversations with Sandy about Clue, actually, of having plays with live musical accompaniment. And because Skylight Music Theater is a music theater, music is our middle name, I had the idea to do Noises Off, but with a live band accompanying the scene changes and sort of intermission. So it's a little bit of a hybrid of a play and music and a jazz concert and all sorts of fun stuff. The music is by the group Combustible Edison.
I love them.
You know them? No one knows them.
Love them. That's all I listened to in college.
Really? You're
Are
very
they
special,
actually
Ryan.
going to be here, or are people playing?
No. So they were a group that existed only from like 1990 to 2000. 10 years, boom, that was it. And I used their music when I did the show in a regional theater in Indiana, actually. Janet, my wife, was in it, had a great time. So it is the perfect music for Noises Off, as you can imagine, right? You've heard it. So even if you don't know their music, people that would like to come to Noises Off, you'll love this music. I promise you. If you want to look up Combustible Edison, there's a lot online. Also, they did the score for the movie Four Rooms, which you might know their music from that, if not by the name Combustible Edison, which is kind of hard to forget. But I've been speaking with their representatives to get permission to use their music, but we'll have a live band playing their music. It will not be them, though. They're not together anymore. Have not been for decades. But it's so joyous and groovy and cocktail loungy.
Yes,
it's a perfect fit.
It's fun
for the
and
show.
quirky and awesome. Just really great melodies. So that's
very
cool.
Similar to how the music for Clue is. So Janet and I saw Clue at Paper Mill, and I've actually directed 4 of those actors in different shows around the country.
Fun.
And lovely Sandy as well. And it's so funny. And you got to cast these things right, because you're either funny or you're not. And they were 100% fantastic comedians, every one of them.
Absolutely. No, it's so good. Michael, Sandy, thank you so much. Let's just let everybody know where they can find you. Sandy, what is your social handle? Where can they find you?
Sure. So my website is sandyrustin.com, and you can find me on Instagram at Sandy Rustin with a low underscore. And Ryan, this was such a pleasure. Thank you for being such a fan of the show and so supportive of the show and Skylight and Michael and all of it. It's just so nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Thank you. And Michael, I'm going to give the Skylight info in a second, but where can people find you on Insta?
You're showing my age. I'm not so good with Insta. I got to get on that.
Okay. No worries.
I'm just not so good with Insta. Just check out Skylight. Send all the traffic to Skylight. They know where to find me. You know where to find me. I'll be here back at the house most shows. Just come and see the shows.
Excellent. Oh, I thank you both so much. A jolly holiday celebrating Disney Broadway hits. It's a must-see, perfect show to enjoy with family and friends this season. Now playing through December 31st. Tickets are available at skylightmusictheater.org.